your date won't say a word edgewise, and so you're trying to keep up conversation. Nowhere goes and tries to kiss you. Lying to impress someone on your date. If it's a date, call it a date. Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Hope you're having a great day, a great night. My name is Brianna, and today we're going to be talking about awkward things on dates that you can try to avoid. And different ways, like the situation, when they're okay, when they're not, and so you have a better dating experience. Let's get into the video. Okay guys, a lot of these experiences were from me, as well as a lot of other people I asked on Instagram, and you guys threw me out a bunch of awkward dates, situations, and things that happen on dates. And so I want to talk about those and maybe ways to fix them, or when there's things that are okay, because sometimes you're like not trying to be awkward, but we're gonna kind of go over these because sometimes it happens. Okay, number one is when the date just stares at you all the time. Okay. Now, there's a thing, like if you like someone, of course you want to be looking at them. You do not want to just be looking at the table, at your shoes, at the ceiling. You don't want to be avoiding them, but not like staring at them like you're gonna like drill a hole into their soul. Okay, so keeping it, even if you think they're gorgeous, they're handsome, whatever it is, keeping a nice balance of how much you look at them. When you're talking, you want to look at them and you want to have a direct conversation. You want to be like, yeah, I think you're like really cool. When you're talking to them, you can stare at them, but you can also kind of like look away a little bit, not just like drilling into their soul. Okay, we don't want to do that. Number two is not have a clear ending to date. You know, sometimes when you have been asked and you're not really planning it as much and you don't really know when it ends, and it's kind of really hard because you're like, is this end, is this end? Like, not that always you're like, you're trying to end it, but you're just not sure like what you should be like when it is. And so I think if you're planning it, kind of know like, okay, here's when the end is. Now there is times where it goes on farther, but kind of know if you ask someone, they kind of know what the whole general idea is, and so they're not uncomfortably like not unsure, and they're kind of just waiting there like, is this the end? And like just having a clear little answer there. Alright, another one is when they're talking non-stop. The formula for a really good date is having a pretty good equal side of both people talking. Now, if you are constantly talking about yourself the whole entire time, and all that you can do, and maybe the other person to get a chance, you know, most likely they're not going to want to go on another date because they've not put in 2 words. And if they can't talk, then they kind of just feel like they're shut down. So especially you don't make them feel shut down, give them equal amount of talk. But there's also the opposite side of this, is sometimes your date won't say a word edgewise, and so you're trying to keep up conversation. And one way to avoid that is trying to ask like questions and do all that. But it is very hard. I've been on dates where I've been trying to ask questions, trying to get to know the person, and get like 2 words back, not very much, not sure like how to keep doing it. And by like the end of the date, they're going to drop me off, and I'm like, I don't even know what to say at this point. And so it goes both ways. Don't talk too much, and also even if you're shy and like held back, like try to make an effort to have a conversation and respond, even if it's just like kind of asking them questions and trying to formulate stuff and like actually let them get to know you, and it makes it easier, and so you're not just like out of stuff and not sure what to do, and then there's just things like there's crickets on the date. Another awkward thing is when the date moves too fast. Okay, there is also the point of feeling this out. So we're going to discuss both sides of those. So if you're on the date and you're just like, oh, this is a fun little date, and then your date out of nowhere goes and tries to kiss you. You feel a little bit uncomfortable, or they're just like trying to be like all over you in hands and just being like, hey, what are you doing? Like, fine, you need to play it by ear. You need to be filling it out and knowing. And so the best way to know if the other person is ready for physical and all that is really just kind of like play it out. Like if you're like, well, maybe I want to hold their hands, well, maybe put your hand out so it's available for them. Don't just go and grab their hand. Just kind of slowly ease into it, kind of like little touches, like on their shoulder or whatever, so they can kind of like see. And then if they're reciprocating it, then you know it's okay, I can tease a little farther. But Like, some people like to kiss on the first date, some people don't. So you really just gotta, you need to make sure you feel comfortable. If at all things you're scared, well then ask. Saying, hey, wanna hold hands? Are you gonna kiss? Like that, like it's uncomfortable sometimes. But if you're like really nervous about it, you could always do that. But I say play it safe. Don't feel like someone is like feeling forced into physical touch at all or any of that, because you never know people. So yeah, don't just turn the girl around and kiss her on the first. I guess unless your date's like, kiss me, then you could, but like I don't really see it happening like that. Well, I guess there's some people, but not like that. Okay. All right, another awkward little thingy, and this kind of goes back to the other thing, is when you have nothing to talk about. And that kind of is hard when you guys don't have anything in common. And the best thing I would say for this is not feeling like you have to have like a check mark off about stuff like, what's your favorite color? What color's your toothbrush? What's your favorite thing to do on a Friday night at 6 p.m.? No, that's how your conversations are gonna end really quick and just not even be personal, and you only know service level. The best thing I found is just having a normal conversation. What's a conversation you're gonna have with friends? Oh, you have something in common. Okay, let's talk about that for like 20 minutes. It's finding stuff in common and the things getting to know each other, and not just like the surface level like facts. Like, small talk can only get you so far. And so if you're talking about like your normal everyday things, like you're gonna talk to a friend, it's a lot simpler, it's easier, and you're not having that awkward silence as much of not sure what to do. This one is, can be uncomfortable as well as awkward, is when you're trying to leave a date and your date will not let you. Not like try to leave, but you know, it's like the end of the date and your date won't let you. They keep talking, they keep trying to get the conversation, and you are like trying to leave. And so if you're seeing like little hints of them like trying to reach through the door and keep being like, hey, I gotta go, or I've had a good night, or like doing something like that, like try to read it out and let them go, and not feeling like they keep going on and on. Yeah, I had a very uncomfortable, weird date where my roommate even tried to come home. I tried to go in with her. I just like tried to do every little opportunity because I was really tired. I wasn't feeling good, and it was super late, and I just kept trying to, and he would just keep this conversation. He just kept talking, and I know I was giving plenty of hints, and I just didn't want to be rude. So play it out. Don't be inconsiderate of the other person. If it's been a long time and if you're kind of seeing hints or whatever, just kind of let it happen. Don't try to like postpone it or keep it going, you know? We gotta be nice to everyone. Alright, let's pause right here, give this video a thumbs up, and push the subscribe button. Yay! How about those questions about, do you want to get married? How many kids do you want? How many dates have you been on your life? How many kisses have you had? Okay, most of these questions are very awkward. On your first date, you're wanting to get to know someone, and asking them about marriage is a really fast thing, okay? Can we just cover that? Most of the time, don't bring it up. But I also want to be clear, because sometimes it just goes along with the conversation. I don't know what you're talking about. It's hard to say exactly what your conversation, but if you're just bringing up and talking about like your family and maybe like how many siblings, and then you're like, oh hey, how many kids, or like how big is your family, like do you like how that feels, or you can kind of just throw in a lot. Like I really liked having a big family. I think it was cool. Like if it's going with a conversation, I would say, because my thing is you don't want to hide yourself. You don't want to be like dishonest about who you are or what you like. Like if you want something, you should do it, but being careful not to just be like, I want 20 kids. And out of the blue. But if it's going with the conversation and it's natural, then it's okay. But if you're just like out of the blue, just like telling them I want to marry you, like even if that's something you so desire and you feel like that to someone, that is great and wonderful, but maybe you should wait a couple dates to say it. Like I know it has worked out, but a lot of people it kind of freaks out, and maybe waiting a couple dates to tell them, it's a little better idea. Lying to impress someone on your date. Don't be someone else, be yourself. You are wonderful, you're amazing. You don't need to lie and try to impress them, and be out there. Tell them what you like, even if it's an unpopular opinion. Even if it's something against the grain, like just be open and honest and not feeling like you have to lie or try to say something else to impress them, because those are not the people you want to be with if you have to keep doing that, because you can only go so long. And you know what? Most of the time, probably your date is noticing their lies. I have been on dates where they're obviously telling me facts and they're not true about themselves. It's very, very clear, and they just keep going, and I'm sitting here like, So moral, this is one of my biggest advice. Just be yourself. Don't feel like you need to be something for someone else. Just be honest. Okay, this is like one of my biggest pet peeves, anyone in general, is texting on dates. If your date is constantly texting, you're like, you don't want to be here. Why did you ask me this date? You're obviously want to be somewhere else or talking to someone else. Why are you here? Okay? Nobody wants that. I guess unless you're both texting, but either you're a really good match or you guys really need to find out priorities. I don't know. But honestly, if you're on a date with someone, if you ask or you were asked on a date, give them your full attention, and for even that hour or 2 hours, whatever it is, give them your full attention, and let them know that you're there and they're focused on you. Like, that's super, super important. And if you're on a really, really long date and need to check your phone really quick, I'd say sometimes you have to do that, just kind of checking. But even if you are, maybe just being very clear of like, hey, I just need to check this real quick. Or if it's like, I don't know, like just really playing it by ear. If your date's like several hours long, sometimes you just need to check the time, or maybe you're waiting, or you just want to check and make sure there's no emergencies. The whole world didn't burn down while you're on this date. But being very, very considerate, give the person your full attention, making them feel loved and cared for. Even if that's someone you're interested in, you want to give them respect, because you're hoping whoever you end up with, your special eternal someone, is very respected. That's what I always think, is I want to try to treat people the way I hope someone's treating my spouse, my future spouse out there. And so especially just giving that focus and that time that they need. Oh, let me just hear and get this call. Yeah. It's awkward, it's annoying when someone answers a phone call on a date and you're like, okay, why are you talking to them? You should just go hang out with the person. There's definitely times in emergencies where the person maybe never gets a call, and if that's you, trying to speak clear, just being like, oh, I'm really worried, or this could be an emergency or something like that. But for the most part, you can call people back later, okay? You don't try to answer phone calls. It's worse than texting, okay? Okay, how you doing, honey? Okay. Super awkward when your date flirts with someone else besides you, okay? It's like, why are you on this date? Why are you doing this? Because, you know what? It's awkward, okay? If you are on this date, maybe it was a blind date, maybe you get on it and it's not the person who you thought, okay? If you aren't interested, you're still on this date, you accepted, you went on it, don't try to flirt with someone else, okay? You can ask them out another time, okay? Or maybe that's not supposed to be if there isn't a second time, okay? Do not. That's so awkward. It makes a person feel uncomfortable. It makes them feel low. Don't do it. Just don't, okay? This one is a great thing to clear up. It's not knowing if you're on a date or not. I have heard so many people say this, is something like you've been asked, like so many people are like, you've been asked on a friend and you think you're just hanging out, and then it like feels like a date, or you're asked on a date and then you're like, it feels like it's more like hanging out. And just being very clear. If you ask someone on a date, say, I'm taking you on this date, and then make it a date and not just like you go and hang out with friends. If you're just hanging out, then make it just be hanging out, not pair it off, okay? Okay, it's so much easier if you're both in the same plate of, hey, this is a date, okay? We're gonna say it as it is, okay? Us here, we're gonna call it as it is. It is a date, okay? We're not gonna try to shy away of, let's go hang out. Let's get back to dating and be kind of old school, because old school's cool, just how it is, okay? That's the goal here. We're gonna be clear. We're gonna call it a date and not hanging out. Because you don't want to be that person who's suddenly like, is this a date or is this not? If you just want to hang out with someone, make it very clear it's a hangout, okay? Have other people. If it's a date, call it a date. Don't say you're gonna hang out when it's really you and them and it really is feeling like a date. Last one. Okay. Super awkward when you're on a date and the person starts saying how much they hate something and you disagree. and it is something maybe you're passionate about or you like, and they're making fun of people who have them. And it's okay if you guys disagree. It's okay if you have different beliefs, whatever it is, but don't be the person who's on the date, who's discouraging, who's making fun of something when you don't know. First, you need to find out on that date if that is something that person, what their thoughts are. Don't just assume that they agree with you. If you're talking about a subject and you're like, oh yeah, I don't like anchovies, and the person's like, I don't like anchovies either, and then you're both talking about how much you hate anchovies, and they're agreeing back and forth and throwing stuff in the conversation, not just Usually if they're just kind of like nodding, saying they really don't agree, but they don't want to stand up and like cause an argument or a fight. So you gotta listen, you gotta be considerate, you need to be paying attention to your date on how they are feeling, okay? I'm not just saying, oh, just play it by ear. If they are just like if they're not saying much about it, I would say drop it right then and there, okay? You probably have disagreeing views, but if they are kind of throwing more stuff back at you and you already know it's something that you think the same, then like you keep it going, and if they kind of stop, then stop it, because there's a point where it's too far, okay? You don't want to degrade someone, you don't want to feel small for something they love or they believe or they do. It's one of the worst things that you can do to kind of like really hurt someone. So just be considerate, and you never know what will happen. But I hope you guys like this video and all these awkward date things and like how to avoid them or fix them or whatever. Yes. Alright, well, I'm going to head off. I will see you guys next week. The video will be super cool. I'm excited. I've been like getting stuff ready for it, you know, and like planning in my brain. But I'll see you guys next week. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up. It means so much because you like it and I like you and all that stuff. And then subscribe if you haven't already so you don't miss any videos. But I will see you guys next week. Have a great day, a great night. God bless.